Hi everyone, welcome to another online session. This is for my students of architecture, so others can kind of scroll down if you will. Maybe you can hit that like, yeah. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon, right? That's very important. You see, I have been practicing and preaching as an architect for the past 2 decades across India and abroad. With my hands on experience in designing and building numerous projects, I've gained some real life insight which I keep sharing with my students of architecture. Today, I have with me a couple of my students who were given a certain design assignment to do. They have done their design, so it's review time now. Let's check it out what they have to say. Yeah. You can share your screen, we can start discussing then.
Yeah. So you'll have to allow me to share the screen.
Okay, so share screen, multiple participants can share simultaneously. Okay, yeah, done.
Yeah. Is the screen visible, sir?
Yes, it is visible.
So this is basically the central building that I was designing,
Right.
and I'm facing a bit of difficulty with this regarding the layout of the rooms. So initially, I started out like this. Since the space that we have here on the site is a bit lengthy longitudinal wise, so I've been designing it in that sense. And the thing is that I am not sure whether the size of the rooms is appropriate enough or not, because since it's like the classrooms that are there, will there be like the standard classroom sizes that are there in primary schools and secondary schools, or can I have a reduced size of classroom because it's for a small population of people?
This classroom is for whom? Who are the users of this?
It can be anyone. It's basically dance classrooms, music classrooms, art classrooms, general tuition classrooms.
I see. So, no, it will not go by any AICT or UC standard. So, it can be smaller or even larger depending on the size that you have and also the kind of occupancy that you are expecting. Like, how many people do you expect to come here to take a class, maybe, right? If it is a dance class,
Yeah.
of course, you'll need some leg space, breathing space. It will be a little wider than the regular classes. Even if it's a smaller space, there will probably be a lesser number of students participating together. Ideally, it should be a
Yeah.
huge open space, maybe 2 classrooms joined together, or maybe if you have 2 classrooms, you have a removable partition in between. There is a
Okay.
collapsible or removable partition in between if you have a dance class or something like that, or an activity or a yoga class for that matter. So you might as well remove the internal collapsible partition and make 2 rooms as 1 room. Or maybe if you have smaller sessions, like maybe a lot of smaller sessions can happen, maybe a community discussion session, maybe some important people around the community, they want to come and sit together to have a chat quickly to resolve some issues nearby, so they can use that classes. Or maybe it's a small training center, maybe hands on some craft, or maybe painting or drawing. They don't need so much of a space. There will be lesser number of students, right, in comparison to a bigger yoga or a dance class, right? So you can think in lines of those and have a classroom which is maybe a little bigger or lesser than the regular standard size of a classroom, and collapsible partition in between, so that the partitions can be removed as at will. And by design, you have come to a conclusion where you will have multiple use of a single space.
Yeah.
My point
So
on-
basically, when I was going through the Neufert, the standard sizes for both classrooms for where classes happen and dance classrooms and art classroom is around 80 meters square for 48 students.
Alright.
80 meters square is the area of it, and for 42 students. So considering like at one session 42 students is a lot even for a dance studio or a tuition class, right?
Yeah, that is
So and to reduce that, I've reduced that 80 meters square to around 32 meters square for the number of students will be around 20 to 16 students per session.
okay.
So basically this area is 32 meters square. It's a 2 meter by 2 meter grid. So this is 32 meters square, this is 32 meters square. and this is this type of longitudinal classrooms are for dance and art or music.
Okay. Fine. I mean, then you have a collapsible partition in between which can serve this purpose, and then you can do it. So this partition, this
And
partition, it can be.
it's more of a thing that these classrooms are not specifically for dance, music and art. It's just that this type of classrooms will be used for this. So at one point in time, if there's a session for dance and this classroom is being used, and there's another alternative session for music, so this classroom can be used instead of art. Art can be scheduled at some other time.
See, as I said, like these classrooms might not be as well classrooms. At certain times, it might be meeting rooms, right, for the community. So a lot of things can happen in this. Maybe some senior citizens activity can happen here. A lot of other stuff. Maybe over the weekends there will be some free camps, free health checkup camps. Those can take place. Blood donation camps. They require spaces, covered spaces. So nowadays, what they do? They make up makeshift arrangements. Why do they do that? Because they don't have such spaces. You provide some free open spaces like this, so they will use those spaces.
Okay, so that means that instead of providing or naming it specifically as classrooms, it's better to provide kind of like multi-purpose room.
Multi-purpose activity room. Why not?
Okay, so when I'm doing that, when I'm specifying it as a multi-purpose activity rooms, do I give separate specified classrooms for tuitions, or multi-purpose activity room will be sufficient?
See, multi-purpose activity room means that it might be classroom, it might not be classroom, it might be a yoga room, dance room, games room, or a meeting room per se. So it serves a lot of a purpose, right? So
Okay.
that's about it.
Okay. And the other thing was the positioning of the staircase. So I'll just switch this off. Yeah. So this area is basically my lobby space.
Okay.
This area is specifically my lobby space, right? So this will be a double height structure, kind of like an atrium kind of structure, and this is the staircase. This is an open staircase within the atrium, and this is the reception desk over here. So we have reception desk here, we have staircase here, and this is basically the kind of like a lounge within the lobby or the atrium where people can wait. And this area is accessible from the vehicle side, and this is accessible from within the site. So, and since I'll have my exhibition block somewhere here, so it will also serve as a common pick up and drop off point for the vehicles.
Okay. What is the size of your staircase?
The staircase, this is 2 meter wide. This is
2 meter.
1 minute.
No.
Yeah, this is 2 meter wide.
No. It should be more.
More.
It's a public space. That means this is 1 meter, right? 1 meter and 1 meter. 1 meter is not.
Yeah.
This might be a residential interior staircase. If you put 1 meter, is good. This is a public space. There will be a huge lot of traffic coming in. One flight itself should be 2 meter, or if not less than 1.5 meter, either 1.5 or 2.
Okay.
Minimum it should be 1.5. Right. So that this grid, even I was thinking before, like you have made a grid of 2 by 2. I mean, is there any specific reason for that? If not, then you go for a grid of 3 by 3, or maybe 3 by 4.
Okay, sir.
Or maybe 4 by 4. But not 2 by 2 grid. A 2 by 2 grid is a very small kind of a grid. I mean, why 2 by 2 grid?
Well, sir, basically it was easier to because it's very versatile, right? So if I want 4 meter by 4 meter grid, I'll just take it as that.
Fine, then you can go by your 2 by 2 grid, but your real grid of the building will not be 2 by 2. It will be probably 4 by 4. When you draw your grid
basically
line,
the column. column placement will be around 4
Yes,
by 4 or 6
4
by
by
6.
4. You place your columns here then, like one grid of
Yeah.
alternating grids. But the staircase, definitely it will be either at a minimum of 1.5, 1 meter is too narrow, 1.5, or ideally it should be 2 meter.
Okay.
Public building, huh? So a lot of people will be going up and down, crowd will be coming in, and this should be open kind of a staircase. And it is also inside.
Yeah, it will be. It will be open. Basically, it won't be an enclosed room. This is basically open.
Open staircase. It's kind of a floating pod inside your room. Imagine like a floating dog leg staircase going up, right? Which is completely floating. There are no supports.
Yes, sir.
It is supported only at the base and at the top, right? And it's kind of a something like that, a folded paper plate coming up from the top to below. So there are no supports, not even at the mid landings.
Yeah. So basically, the landing areas can be used as viewing portion for the rest of the lobby.
Viewing portion, yeah, sort of.
And another reason was this because I think in Singapore airport, Changi International Airport, they have this huge double height atrium space, and the wall is lined with natural vegetation, indoor vegetation, right?
Correct.
So that was the reason why I gave the reception here, and this area can be used as that.
You can do that.
Interior vegetation,
Complete vertical gardening.
And moreover, this area, since this is a double height atrium space, and mostly there will be glass paneling done in this, and there will be sunlight coming through this portion because it will be placed here. So it's a valid enough space to put in the vegetation with enough natural sunlight.
Yeah. So basically, see, even for these kind of you call these indoor organic vertical gardens, right?
Okay.
Or indoor organic vertical farms, if you will. So farms are for the kind of flora where you can use the product for your day-to-day, maybe like making salads, eating, or maybe fruit-bearing plants, fruit-bearing smaller trees.
Okay.
That can be put indoors. So indoor organic farm or indoor organic garden is only for the sake of beautification. Farm is for both. I mean, it's a nice fruit and flower bearing tree or a plant, small plant or shrub, which grows vertically on a wall with a kind of a system, which right now I'm working on a brand called Green Roots. So it's a very versatile kind of a scenario which we are exploring, and basically we are educating people and to learn themselves how they can do it, right? So we are trying to reach out to more and more people, mostly online at this point of time, but there are a lot of people coming forward. A lot of people have now free time. They have, a lot of people are coming to us and saying like, we have a lot of free time, what can I do? Somebody is coming and saying, okay, I am out of money in this kind of a lockdown, I am kind of jobless maybe, so how can I earn? So they are actually earning by making this kind of a organic farm within their maybe their rooms, or maybe even their terraces, or maybe balconies. Vertical farming system which has nothing to do with the soil below, right? There are mediums in which the plants can grow without even soil.
Okay.
Fantastic formula, and the idea is to take the concepts of this agriculture and put it into the concept of architecture and make something called agritecture. Why not? So agritecture is something about architecture and agriculture together, and it's a complete new different kind of a discipline, which at this point of time I can guarantee you no architect, no mainstream architect will talking about this in our city at least, right? So if you can do something about it, you put your agritecture into the forefront. You have kind of a school of thought which people are yet to think. So you think it today, tomorrow what is going to happen? So these things are going to go in your portfolio, and this will help you land a better job than others when compared to different people of mainstream architecture. What they do, I mean, they think in a very stereotypical kind of a thought process. We have to climb above and beyond that. So think about agritecture, think about putting much more and more of your agriculture. Think about, even for instance, in Japan, they already had been doing it for quite some time. In schools, during lunch breaks, what they do, students, they harvest their own food. From where? From the gardens within the school. They make their own salad, they make their own something, like they plant those trees, they water those trees, they grow their own food, they eat their own food, they cook their own food, eat their own food. So all those things, concepts together from all over the world are coming together in one place, and we are trying to serve it in the form of Green Roots. as an education company. So it's a very fantastic kind of an idea, and it is free for everybody. You can explore those ideas, discuss with us, and you can take it forward.
Okay, sir.
So the more of architecture you put in your building, it will be more sustainable for the future. You have to think about the future. People will be struggling to think about it when they run out of time. If you start thinking about it today, you will be an edge above others. Your portfolio will be definitely better than others.
Yes, sir.
Anywhere you land, you have a sustainable design in your portfolio. Fantastic, right?
Yeah.
So we are discussing all these drawings, but ultimately, what this will spruce up your portfolio, right? This will be better for your portfolio.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So the staircase, I'll have to increase the span of the staircase. That's one
Yeah.
thing. Increase the grid spans. That's another thing. And another thing, sir, that I was facing issues with was this area. Yeah. So this area is basically the service. This area is basically the service rooms, right? The AHU and the electrical rooms. So will I? So considering that this is the central building, will the AHU and the electrical room be provided in every floors for every floor?
How many buildings? How many floors are there?
There'll be around it's around G+2 or G+3. The
Yes.
G+2 or
You
G+3.
have to give AHU rooms on every floor.
Okay,
AHU
so
rooms,
this becomes
electrical
a service block. Yeah.
service block.
So it's right now it's around 2 by 2 meters for both AHU and electrical. Is that enough, or should I increase the size?
It is a minimum 3 by 3 or maybe 3.5 by 3.5. A little more than AHU
Okay.
room. Then will be the AHU room, will be the electrical room. So ideally, you leave a space of a 4 by 4. Best.
Okay.
AHU room
Okay.
takes a lot of more space. We have a AHU room
Okay.
just next to our studio, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge space.
So okay. So because for the exhibition block that I did, the size of the AHU room is around it's around 3.25 by 3.25.
Yeah.
And the electrical room.
Fine. Anything
So is
more
that
than,
enough?
Yeah. Anything more than 3 should be good.
Okay.
Minimum 3.
So increase
Because it's
the
an electrical
size.
room and a HU room. It's not a duct. Duct can be lesser in dimension.
Okay. So I'll have to change the whole grid to a 3 by 3 for better standard yet.
I think.
And another thing, sir, was that the emergency staircase, we have to provide at least one emergency staircase that is facing towards the external wall of the building, right?
Yes,
So
it should be getting direct access from the external facade. Ideally, it should be outside the building, completely open to the sky, completely open to natural access, ventilation, so that there is no smoke accumulation in it. So I think you can do it actually, because your building is not that high, and secondly, your building in such a kind of scenario, if you have an exposed staircase, better, it looks good from the outside, right? And the third point is, like, if you have an exposed staircase, it's the best option that you can have in a public building.
okay.
Yeah.
So one a minimum of one.
Inside. It should be outside.
Okay, so I should provide at least one exposed staircase towards the external side, right?
Yeah.
And if I provide that, is it necessary to provide other staircases that are attached to the external wall?
See, there will be minimum number of staircases as per the travel distance. Okay, as per the fire norms.
I think it's around 14 meter. Every
There
14 meter there should be a staircase.
At least one of those staircases should be attached to the outer facade or maybe exposed completely. The rest is fine.
Okay.
Rest all good.
Okay. And the other issue that I was facing was the length of this space from here to here. Right? I don't think it's enough for this space. because when I import this over here, it's almost taking up this much space, the entirety of this space. And
Yes.
if I extend it more, it's gonna come up till this area.
Hmm.
So it's basically going to be this long. So
Yeah.
I won't be able to give this diagonal feature that initially we discussed, right? The auditorium will be
Right.
at an angle to this. So instead, the other thing that I was thinking about was this area, which was essentially supposed to be an indoor sports stadium at a ground level. Uh, I'll be changing that, and I'll be incorporating the market space at the ground level underneath this.
All right.
The market space will be underneath this, and half of it can be divided into an AC market, half of it can be open market. The open market can extend outside, and above that, this building can be connected. Above that, it can be connected here, right? So at the upper floor, it will become something like this,
Yes, it
something
can.
along this direction,
It can be.
right? Yeah, and I can continue with the same way that we like the same way we discussed. And on the first floor there will be an auditorium, and above the
Yes.
auditorium will be the OAT, and the OAT will be open to the sky, and then the final building will be a block over
Yes.
here.
Probably at the ground level, you can have some walkways within under the building.
Yeah, so this area will be accessible.
Yes, accessible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is done.
Yes, so this is the changes that I had to do.
All right.
So in this wing, since this wing will be separate at the ground floor level,
Uh,
and there will be an AC market for approximately 50% of that, will I have to provide a separate AHU and electrical room for that?
yes, because the AHU rooms for this block is somewhere here. Okay. So from here till here is pretty
Yeah,
far away, right? So this has to be an
yeah,
identical and a independent unit. Maybe something like this, similar in lines. You can have an independent unit here. Okay, so the AHU rooms, electrical room, service room, everything would be independent for this kind of this market, AC market also. Okay,
okay,
this will be a complete freestanding unit. This will help in two things. One is, for instance, if there is any problem in this, there is a redundancy here and an
yeah,
excess. So this shutdowns, this shuts at some point of time. So even this can operate. This has to be operable.
okay,
A lot of people will be going and classrooms. Very few people will come and go in. It will be
yeah,
not very
okay,
frequent. This will be more frequent. More, lot of people will be coming here. So this AHU room,
yeah,
this electrical room has to be something independent with a backup plan for this.
hmm,
There will be DG sets, generators to run it during electrical failures and all. So this will be complete freestanding. So that will help in this having an independent unit. Secondly, there will be phasing. If you want to phase out this building, for example, if you want to make this part of the building in phase one and this part of the building in phase two, you can do
hmm,
the left hand side of the building in phase one, or maybe the right hand side in phase two, either whatsoever.
hmm,
But it will help in phasing out the building if you have some independent. This is called modular system of construction or modular
hmm,
system of design. So your each and every building is independent, self-sufficient, and sustainable on its own. So they can
okay,
function on their own, irrespective of any other feedback support from any other unit. So each and every independent unit, either this or maybe this one or maybe the other buildings that will come up, so all of them will be independent of each other. That's the best option to do.
okay,
A lot of places abroad, what they do is they make a district cooling system, because we have heating system and cooling system, so they have district cooling system. So district cooling system, what happens is there is a central plant from where an AHU plant, for instance, from where ducting goes to all the buildings. So the
yeah, yeah,
entire
yeah,
system is controlled. That is one way. It is good that okay, bring everything together, so maintenance and everything becomes in one place. But
hmm,
in worst case scenario, what happens if your system fails? I mean, in Indian context, this is not a good idea. In Indian context, chances of failure, and not only failure, the problem is beyond failure. Like for instance, what happened in Amphan, this entire scenario, there was a huge failure, but the failure was not that much of a problem as what? As backup. The people
Yeah.
servicing those failures, they took more than a month to go to the normal scenario. So
Yeah.
our
True.
you know, getting back to normal is the issue, not the
Okay.
issue itself. The issue comes and goes just like that. Okay, but
Yes, sir.
if your units are independent, if one unit shut down, the other unit can function. If the other shut down, somebody else can function. So it can be on a rotation. They can function on their own. They can, you know, be self-help, right? So that is all.
Okay, got it, sir. And the other thing, sir, was that in the lounge area for and the child daycare center, which is here, right? I'll just clear this, sir. So, which is this area, right? So I have to detail this out a bit. This area, I have to detail it out a bit, and so will I have to provide a common public washroom in this, or should I provide separate private washrooms in both the lounges and the care center?
So, what would be the user group? Who will be the people who will be coming and using it?
This is for the senior citizen, and this is for the child daycare center.
All right. So why do they look very similar?
I just mirrored this to denote the spaces.
So what are those?
This is just for my idea.
No, so what are those L-shaped?
Okay, so basically this was the initial design that I thought about the senior citizen lounge. They needed spaces to sit, so this area is basically this is basically the couches towards this. This area is double height, right? This will open up towards the football field and the park.
Right.
So this basically becomes a sitting and viewing area for the senior citizens to enjoy. That's number one. Then this area is kind of like, you know, a common seating, elongated seating table where they can sit and eat, or where they can sit and drink coffees or whatever that they're drinking, or read books. This is a small library space that will have the books for them to enjoy when they're here. This area was supposed initially that I designed, this area was supposed to be a washroom cubicle over here, and plus reception space for the caretaker to be there.
Fine. So I think you should be giving not a public toilet, but a toilet independently for the senior citizens and independent for the children. Right. There are two reasons. Because the toilets for the children will be completely different in structure. The ergonomics will be completely different. The height of the wash basins, the height of the toilets, the balls, and everything would be at a different level. Right. For senior citizens, it will be a mix of regular toilet facilities and mix of the physically challenged toilet facilities, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of them might be not physically able, right? So they might come in wheelchairs or something like that. So those senior facilities would be senior friendly and disabled friendly more than the children's requirements. The children will have it completely different, because in schools you have a complete set of different standards. The standard dimensions for schools are completely different. Those will be applicable for the child care center, including a couple of them for the people that are there, the nannies or maybe the staff who will be taking care of them. For them, there will be one or two regular size of washrooms and all. But the rest of the children, there will be little different, like a school. And for the senior facilities, it will be in terms of disabled friendly and in terms of senior citizen friendly, which will be more accessible. There will be ramps to climb up, there will be handrails and stuff like that.
Okay. So where can I find the standard details for the children washrooms?
It is there in the NERFA.
Okay, I didn't find it. I'll go through it, sir.
You can browse it on Google also. Google has it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Yeah. So this is pretty much it. I was facing the issue. The major issue was with the central building.
Right.
So I think I'll change the grid. Maybe that will solve my issue. So I'll go through that, sir.
Yes. You just do that part of the correction. I think you are good to go at this stage. And then now it is time to lay out everything on the master plan. Make a comprehensive master plan the next time. So again, we can look at what are the criticalities of that
Yes,
plan. Once
sir.
we put at least the building footprints, you can fine tune those footprints later. You can fine tune what is inside of all those buildings, but at least those ideas of blocks, like what will be the broad shapes and sizes of those blocks, put that on the master plan. Have the your pathways and roads laid out with the vegetation and everything. So let's have a look at a comprehensive master plan. Okay, so
Okay. Yes, sir.
next day target that and try to wrap up the all our other stuff. There are other things, right? Your I think what is the date today? Your submissions are pretty
Today is
high, right?
16th.
So
Yes, sir. By this week, by Sunday, I'm hoping to finish all the planning portions of the year, including the master plan. And for the last week, I'm keeping it for all the section renderings and compilation of the year into a report.
all right, sounds good. So you get to it then, and again we'll have a look at it when the time comes and you are ready to do.
Yes, sir. Just one more thing before you go,
Okay,
sir.
sure.
The last session that we had, you told me that I should change the width of the
Road.
road, from 3 meter to approximately 6 meter. So 6 meter for a single lane is becoming way too wide for the site. Like a lot of space is being taken for that.
Say, I'll tell you, 6 meter is the requirement for movement of a fire tender. Now, the something very funny is like fire tender can not only move on a flat surface like as in a road. For instance, this is a road. Okay, it's a flat road. I mean, I'm drawing with a mouse, so it is a little difficult. Anyway, so
You can use the draw option to drag straight lines.
Alright, just I'll clear up the stuff then just a moment. Yeah. For instance, if I draw a straight line like this. So 6 meter. Imagine this is 6 meter. Now fire tender can not only move on a straight line like this, it can also move if it is somewhat like this. Okay, how much is this? This is 150, not more than that. 150 mm high.
Okay.
What can be 150 mm high on both sides? A footpath. Right? So this basically this 6 meter can really include this whole thing. Not the complete right of way, but at least the carriageway plus the pedestrian movement path. Okay, so effectively this reduces.
Okay.
And not only can this be footpath, this can actually be green. Green as in not true green. If it is true green, they will not allow. What they will allow is green paver blocks, which are able to take 40 metric ton load of the Bronto, that is fire tender, big fire tender vehicle is there, right? It's called Bronto in this particular area.
Okay,
right?
sir.
So Bronto Skylift. It's a Bronto Skylift. It's a huge sky. They'll have a huge ladder for the high rises. They use it for servicing this particular New Town Kolkata Smart City. So they have smaller vehicles as well, but we never know which vehicle is going to come for what, right? So worst case scenario, at least keep 6, if not more than 6, but include all of this stuff. If you want to include footpath, well and good. If you want to include green, then put 50% green. What? This tiles, which are your paver blocks. You have green in between, and there are concrete blocks, which can take this 40% load, 40 meter metric ton of load.
Okay, so essentially it can be a vehicle road of say 4 meter and 1 meter on either sides of pedestrian pathways, and it can still be considered under
pedestrian
fire
pathway,
safety.
1 meter is a little narrow for pedestrian pathways. Ideally,
no, considering that 1 meter is beside the road, not within the site itself. It's beside just the vehicle road.
No, it's beside the vehicle road, right? But 1 meter is too narrow for any footpath, right? It is 1.2 meter minimum or 1.5 meter. because this is a public site.
Okay.
It's not just a standalone building with a small road around it. So no, it's not like that, right? It's a public site.
Yeah.
So road should be minimum your like as I said 6 meter wide is including your footpath and all. Worst case scenario, if you can give a carriageway of 6 meter, the best parts is that. But if you cannot, then include at least 1.5 meter of footpath at least on one side, if not on both sides. Right?
Okay.
You can include on the inner side if you will. On the outer side, you might as well have a green. Right? On one side at least you have it. And
Yeah.
another thing is you zoom in this part.
Which part, sir? Yeah.
So here what is happening is, how do you design roads? If this is 6 meter, okay, this has to be 6 meter.
Yeah.
6 meter road bends into a 6 meter road, right? But then,
Yeah.
what is this radius of curvature?
It should be around minimum of 3 meters.
3 meter. 3 meter where? 3 meter here, not here.
Yeah, from the center.
No.
Basically, it will be 3 meter. It will be 3 meter from here to here.
No, it's not 3 meter
No.
from here to here. 3
Okay.
meter radius at this fillet. Fillet of the radius 3 meter here. Then
Okay, so it will be 3 meter from this.
Yes.
This will be 3 meter radius. Okay.
this
Okay, got
radius from wherever it is 3 meter. Okay, now what happens? This
Okay.
becomes a 3 meter radius like this. Then how do you draw
Yeah.
this line?
So it will be from here. It will become something like this.
This will be offset. Then this line, you know, this particular line will be offsetted by 6 meter.
Okay.
Then you will get a bigger curvature here, and this radius is much more than 3 meters.
Yeah.
Okay, by default it
Okay,
will
sir.
come, and the inner radius will be by design. The outer
Okay.
radius will come by default.
Okay, sir. Got it.
Okay, so that's about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'll start doing it with a 3 meter by 3 meter
Alright.
grid, and then if I face any issue, I'll send you a message on WhatsApp.
All right, so sounds good. You can go ahead with what you're
And sir, you told me that you were going to send some floor plan detailings that I can do for detailing of the floor plans.
Yeah,
You
sure.
were going to give some examples.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sir.
All right, fine.
Yeah, good night, sir.
Right. So as you can see, this particular project is more about designing public spaces. And how do you design public spaces? The very first thing that you need to remember, keep it simple. In the first stages of your project, maintain a simple and adaptable design that will grow with time, change with time, and adapt with the requirements, the new requirements that will come to your site. That is very important. Secondly, make it accessible for everyone. Your design has to be accessible. No second thoughts on it. Accessible for each and everyone, either it is a child or an elderly or a disabled person, everyone, right? Next is highlight the character of that particular city. Your public space, this particular public space, it is a part of the entire urban fabric that is there. It's not an alien in isolation, right? So it has to talk to its surroundings. The context is as important as the content that is there. So context is important to the content, right? So remember that. Next you need to know is you're planning for the people and not for the vehicles. People are going to walk into your site. It is a walkable site. So people will come to your site and not vehicles will enter. Vehicle will be parked at somewhere outside or at the periphery of this site, at your MLCP that you have made, right? People will be walking in. So pedestrian friendly site has to be walkable and walkable, nothing doing. At best, what you could do is make some golf cart, ways for golf cart, e-carts to travel into the site for the disabled and the elderly. That's it. And the best thing you could do, in addition to all of these, make use of all of your senses. It has to be a sensory public space. All the senses has to be stimulated to enjoy, to make the end user feel what is there in your site, right? And to, the senses are actually oriented frontally, and the sense of vision is undoubtedly developed horizontally. So vision with the something which stimulates the vision should be in front of you, not too high, not too low, right? Which the sense of smell works best in the distances of 2 to 3 meters, so it should be likewise. And the sense of hearing has a wider function at the range of 35 meters. So within 35 meter of a radius, do what you have to do for tickling the sense of hearing, right? And you know, and finally I should say, you know, sustainability, the cost, the aesthetics, I mean these three things, the sustainability, cost and aesthetics, should be the inherent quality of your design. You know, sustainability in terms of making it more energy and resource efficient and lowering the environmental impact of the project, using materials found in the area that are within the immediate vicinity. Cost, definitely focusing firstly on areas that are more significant and attracting the highest public usage, making sure that they are carefully detailed and implemented to avoid extra construction and maintenance costs. Maybe then aesthetics is definitely, for an architect, aesthetics is, I mean, 9 out of 10 things you'll do on for aesthetics, definitely, which you probably, you know, think about it whether or not you should do it. But still, use simple, robust and fit to purpose materials that are multifunctional. Having said all of that, you know, I sincerely believe that an architect will always be a student, constantly learning, because there are n number of things to learn. There is no end to learning. Let me know your thoughts, your comments, your views on this particular topic. Write in the box below. I'll get back to you. See you.